Welcome to All Revved Up, the show where practical spirituality meets real, messy, everyday life. I'm Reverend Dr. Thor Chalgren, and each week I'm joined by Reverend Dr. Tiffany Milne and Reverend Dr. Liza Marquez. Now, yes, we're ministers, but we're not here to preach at you. We're three friends exploring the kinds of questions people are already talking about. Relationships, identity, burnout, purpose, culture, and how to find meaning in a world that often feels chaotic. Rooted in the New Thought tradition, our conversations are completely unscripted. Expect thoughtful insights, plenty of laughter, a few friendly disagreements, and the occasional rabbit trail. Whether you're deeply spiritual, completely skeptical, or simply navigating your latest life plot twist, we're glad you're here. So grab your coffee, your tea, or whatever gets you through the day, settle in, and let's get all revved up. Hello. I'm here with Dr. Liza and Dr. Tiffany. Dr. Liza, how are you today?
I am doing well, feeling so much better. I was a little under the weather, but grateful to be here. Thank you, Dr. Thor, for asking. Dr. Tiffany, how are you?
I'm doing so much better now that I'm here with both of you. I wasn't doing bad before, but it's just been a crazy whirlwind day and week, and this feels like a chance to just breathe in some awesomeness and spend time with people I love. So I'm excited.
I love that. And I don't know why, but I feel like I'm motivated in full transparency to say that at the top of the show, that was our little attempt so that everyone would know whose voice is whose. So I'm like, Dr. Liza, would you like to say something so that we know your voice? So
you can tell us by the laugh. Liza, laugh.
I can't laugh.
You can't do it on command. I can't. We have to make Liza laugh at some point during this podcast so everybody can hear her laugh. It's my favorite thing.
At some
It'll
point,
happen.
I'm
It'll
sure,
happen.
because you guys always make me laugh, and that's the beauty of being with you too. 100%.
I agree. I love, I similarly had a lot going on today. I spent 2 hours today recording videos for something I'm doing. So I'm sitting there in front of the camera this whole time. And I was just looking forward to this conversation and being with you guys. So I'm excited about that.
Me too. My hair's crazy. Just want to let you guys know that.
No, it looks so good. I mean,
I pulled my hair up. I pulled my hair up super fast.
I have not yet seen any results from my hair growing shampoo. I have to report that.
Wait, how long have you been using it?
Not long enough, probably. They say, this is the thing. It's funny. Like, they're like, you shouldn't really expect results for 3 months. So you have
that's too much of a commitment.
Yeah, they keep you from buying it, right? Because then by
of course it
you're
is.
so used to picking it up off the shelf that you don't stop buying it, even if it's not working. That's genius.
I know.
I will say I used a red light mask. I had to. Anyway, it doesn't matter, but I was anemic, and so I had some hair loss as a result of the anemia, and I got one of the red light helmets, and they did say it would take like 6 to 8 weeks to see results, and so I think I should get results immediately. But I will say, like, after a couple months, I was like, oh, hey, it actually is fuller. It actually is doing its thing. So maybe the same for the shampoo.
Do you think what I think would be a great idea, Thor, is go ahead and commit to the 3 months, but take your picture now and take another one in 3 months.
Yeah.
So that you're not searching for that, like, hey, wait, is it? I mean, is it possible? Like, you'll have a definitive.
I know.
And then ask for your money back if it doesn't work.
There you go. And
I'm all about holding people to account.
There you go. I have to say, oh, this is exciting. So speaking of holding people to account, I have recently, a year ago, Liza knows this, I wrote the first 50,000 words in my novel. And I was looking at the calendar recently and going, if I finished the novel by the end of June, I would have written the entire thing in the span of 1 year. So
wow.
I've started working on my novel again. And I went back and read it, like the first 55,000 words. And I'm like, this actually, it surprised me in a few places. There was one place where I cried, which it was the same place I cried when I wrote it. And it's, Liza, you and I spoke about this when we started this. I had never written anything before. And so to step into something, what we did, where basically you were committing for 30 days that no matter what, you were going to finish this. It was kind of terrifying the first couple of days because I'm like, I don't know how to write a novel. And yet the great lesson for me was just make progress every day. Just put something in and you will figure it out. And that's been like such a huge lesson for me the last couple of months of just get in and start trying to find evidence. Cause I'm like someone who can plan so much and think, I got to have it all figured out. And I'm like, that's BS. I mean, what I'm finding for me is it's sort of a BS way for me to cop out and not actually get work done.
Well, I think that's a BS way for most people to cop out. Like, looking at, I got to go all the way over there instead of just this next step.
Yeah. Yeah.
I struggle with like Thor, you're really good at planning. You're like, okay, once you decide you're going to do something, you're like, okay, I'm just going to start and I'll do like 10 minutes. Like, the mind tricks that you can play. Like I've seen not that you play these mind tricks, but I've seen it like, just tell yourself you only have to put on your running shoes and then you can go to the gym.
Right.
And if you hate it after 5 minutes, you can leave. Just get to the gym. And I feel like a lot of people use those techniques. I still struggle with making myself do things I don't want to do. Like even though like my mind's like, oh, I know that trick. You're going to make me stay at the gym. Or like, I know that trick, like write 5 words. And I'm always in awe of the ability to just be like, I set my mind to it. I wrote it in my day planner and now I'm going to just do it regardless of what the voice says. I'm missing that chip, I think.
And it's interesting because I'm curious. I think people would be curious. You might think, oh, someone's a minister. They probably have like this really evolved practice of like doing affirmations and meditation, all that kind of stuff. Do you guys have? I mean, do you find value in anything like that? If you're trying to convince yourself to do something or motivate yourself, what works for you to get yourself to take action on stuff?
Getting paid. I am the most when it comes seriously, like when it comes to work, like, it's on the to-do list. I get it done. Like I will never get caught with my pants down at work. Right. Well, that is a terrible phrase and a way to say that, but like I will always get my work done when it comes to work. It's when it's personal projects or there's not the fear of getting in trouble if I don't, or the fear of not getting a paycheck. Like you don't get to eat if you don't get your, reports in on time. I do have like a spiritual practice, but that is more, I think, for my mental health. Like this is a pretty scary place without making sure that I've really set the tone for what my day is going to look like and how I want to show up in the world. And so that's really just what I do for everybody that has to be around me, more so than like feeling like it's a scheduled thing. What about you, Liza?
Well, I would also say a paycheck is a big thing that helps to motivate whether I'm doing something or not, for sure. But I mean, I will say, I think I've always operated on the 11th hour. It's just, if I look back, even in writing papers for college, high school, it was always like, even now, packing. I don't like, it's not where I want to start, but inevitably the fuel of waiting until the last minute, something about just like knowing that it needs to, maybe the chaos, maybe that's part of it, like thriving in the chaos, which I love less and less. But I still find myself, I don't do it as often, but I definitely feel like I wait until the last minute, and somewhere in that chaos, like I thrive.
It's also creating your own consequence. Like I was just talking about the consequence of like, if I don't get my work done, like, or, the motivation of getting paid or whatever, like, because I'm somebody who will often wait until the last minute, as well, like procrastination, like, creativity comes at the 11th hour, kind of a belief system. But I do wonder if it stems from creating artificial consequence to not getting it done so that I can get it done. I'm not saying that's what's happening for you. I just had my own aha while you were talking.
I think mine's more of a habit that I haven't yet broken.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe also it occurs to me that on some level, that can work for you. And I don't know if this is your case, but I'm thinking back to like, I'll date myself here. When I was in college, we didn't have computer laptops. So if I was doing a term paper, it was typing, right? And so I would have to type on the typewriter at like midnight if a paper was due the next day. And so if you make a mistake or you're like, oh, I didn't say that right, it's like, too bad. You got to keep going because I'm certainly not going to retype that whole page just to redo a sentence. So I wonder if part of it is you just let go because you really don't have any other choice but to let go. And in the letting go, now you're kind of like your critical mind that wants to control things in the relative just lets go. And you're like, you know what? I don't have time. And especially like what you said, Liza, where if I go, it's last minute for me, I don't have time anymore to think about it. I just have to do it and trust, have faith that it's actually going to work.
Tiffany, do you know what a typewriter is?
I really want to say no because I want to appear younger than I actually am, but I actually do know what a typewriter is. Yes.
It's this mind of adding about 25 pounds.
I love the
I
sound
think
of a typewriter. I remember that sound when I was a kid.
I vaguely remember in college, I think I paid people to.
Did you have a laptop?
I did not have a laptop. I did go to the computer library, I guess. In the library, we had computers that you could do your papers, but you could also pay somebody to type them for you. And that's generally because I couldn't type. And if I had to type a paper at the end of the semester, I'd have to start at the beginning. I just didn't know how to, even now I wing it, you know?
I taught myself to type when I got my first job because I was like, oh, like they type here and I have to send emails and I couldn't type. I learned I taught myself to type with Mavis Beacon. That's dating myself. Do you remember Mavis Beacon?
I remember her. I remember that software.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know that place.
I had typing class in high school. I do remember that.
Thor, you brought something up
Clown College, so I didn't have to type papers.
Can we all graduate recently from Clown College?
Is that what we're calling ministerial
Doctors
school
of clowning,
now?
Doctors of Clowning. Thor, you brought up faith, and I sort of wanted to say, because one of the things that I've been thinking about since we last spoke is this idea of faith, is this idea of, do I truly believe, have faith in what it is that I believe in? I mean, it has been weighing on my mind a lot. Like, what happens when, a crisis of faith, And I'm curious if you guys have ever gone through like one thing is just like, I didn't, and I'm not saying this is what you guys are doing, but like, I didn't get what I wanted. I don't believe in this. I've tried really hard, but have a real existential sort of, is what I believe, in what I believe about life, about myself, about God, about the universe, about this, pure potential of power, of energy. Is that really what I believe, or are we just living the circumstances of life?
I'll give one quick answer, which is that I'll say, and this is a small subset of what I think is a great, much bigger question that I'm hoping like Tiffany will have like brilliance on. I know she would. What I'll say for me is I'm starting to have faith in the last 3 or 4 months. I just decided at one point, I recognized that, I was in a class, and if a question came to me and the question was like, well, write down the first thing that comes to your mind, or spend, 3 minutes writing something down, I would just write it down. And I was just clear, like, that's exactly what I meant to write down. I didn't even need to second guess it. And past me, I think, would have second guessed stuff ad nauseum, where I would have been like, oh, wait, that's not a good answer. I can come up with something better. And so that small part for me of faith is just trusting that, like, whatever came up to me is the thing that was meant to come up, and I just go with it. And it's so much more freeing for me just to go with whatever comes up right away and just go, whatever, that's it. So that's not completely to your point, but that's what comes up for me is just having trust in the moment that it is, my intuition is dialed in to the big picture, and it's giving me exactly what I need right in that moment.
I think for me, I definitely had crises of faith. I mean, quite honestly, you two are the people that I call when I'm in those moments of, so you've both seen my crises of faith, not just a crisis of faith. I think that there's a few things. One, first of all, I can look back on experiences that I've had in my life where I've experienced the magic or I've experienced the, life unfolding perfectly or the serendipity. And it's like, okay, that is also true. So I'm feeling this way right now, but I have evidence in my life that I can look back on to support. But I think the bigger thing that helps me pull myself out of it, and I hope this comes across the way that it's intended, but what do I want to believe? Because the truth is that maybe I'm wrong and maybe I'm right. Maybe, maybe my faith I don't believe that my faith is absolute crap, but like, what if it is? So what? If the worst is going to happen, do I want to spend my life in constant fear of the worst is going to happen? Or do I want to believe that my life is unfolding perfectly and that I am equal and up to any challenge that comes my way? And when whatever happens, I'll deal with it then. And so I think for me, it's more about 99% of the time, I'm all in on this and I get it and I believe it. And I have those moments of fear of like, or moments where I'm like, sometimes I think my serendipities run out, like that pixie. Liza and I had this conversation a while ago that like she felt like pixie dust was just flying out of her tushy. And then one day the pixie dust just all dried up. And like, what if this is the moment where there's no more pixie dust? And I think, okay. But do I want to live my life thinking I have no more pixie dust? Or do I want to deal with not having pixie dust when I have to deal with not having like, I get to decide how I'm going to spend my day. And also just action. For me, it's like when I can get out of myself and just go do something, go laugh, go be with people who fill up my tank, go be of service to other people. I think for me, the challenge is there's beauty everywhere and there's pain everywhere, and they're often interconnected. What am I looking at? Like, do I want to see how much good there is and how amazing and look at the beauty, or do I want to focus on the pain? That was a lot. Sorry, but I've had
No,
some
that was, I mean,
crises.
both of you had great answers. And to understand, I mean, I think what you're saying, Tiffany, is you're making a choice. And I think what you're saying, Thor, is in this moment, like just really paring it down to where you are in the moment to understand where is my belief right now in this very moment, no matter if there's pixie dust or there's a dry up well of pixie dust, like where am I in all of it?
Well, and Ernest Holmes says, get to the highest thought you can conceive of. Like in that moment, where is like, and let that be your starting point. So if I'm feeling, everything sucks, like it's not working, I always think this is the moment where the universe is going to drop me on my tushy, or like, and if I'm sad, like, oh, this is it. I'm just sad now. I just live in sad. I'm never going to be happy again. This is, and have a tendency to sometimes get sucked into that. But I love that concept of like, can I just get to slightly higher ground and then start from there? And what are the thoughts that I think from there? And then can I use that as a leverage to get me to a higher thought and a higher thought? Because I don't want to live in that place where everything sucks.
I wonder too if given enough time we can get a new perspective on this. And the reason I say this is I was thinking about this yesterday. Tiffany, you might remember this. The first iteration of All Revved Up was a handful of interviews that I did with folks, and you were one of them. And I remember quite clearly the conversation we had was roughly about February of 2025. And I'm trying to remember what happened then, not to get political in the show, but I remember we had a conversation very much about crisis of how do I deal with this? How do I move on? And, here we are a year and a half later. Not that it's any better, but I can say for myself, during that time, wonderful things have happened in my life. Like I got to visit Paris for the first time and spend that with my family, and I've gone to on trips that were amazing, and I've had experiences that were amazing. I saw my wife become a practitioner. So there are good things that happened during that time. So I wonder if, like, in those moments of having that crisis of now I don't even know the word, crisis of consciousness or conscience, whichever.
Yeah,
I hate that word. I wish
two similar and
maybe
different
both.
things
Yeah,
happening.
I hate that word because whenever I have to write it out, I'm like always
Conscious
did I
or
misspell that?
consciousness?
conscience.
Yeah, I know.
Conscience.
Crisis of conscience, whatever.
Yeah.
A moment where I doubt whether how to move forward and whether, I believe in stuff. Maybe in that moment I can just be like, well, you had it a year and a half ago, and some things turned out okay. Now I get that there are many people for whom the last year and a half did not turn out great at all. It was horrible for many people, but maybe that's one way that I at least could look at when something like that comes up is know that in the fullness of time, both good things and sucky things will happen, but put my attention on the good.
I'm actually really glad that you brought that up because it's amazing the amnesia that we get. But now I remember that period in my life where I felt I was absolutely having a crisis of faith and a crisis of conscious or consciousness or whatever word we've decided we're going with.
The crisis of faith.
Yeah, and I was really struggling. I was really struggling, and it's interesting. I can look back and first of all, I called you guys. I did something about it. I got into action. I didn't, whatever it was that just was helping in the moment, minute by minute. And I look at where I'm at now. And quite honestly, a lot of the relative facts have not changed all that much. A lot of what was going on then is still going on now. And some of it's quite honestly even worse or, at least has a greater stronghold. And yet I feel more solid and more confident and more connected than I ever have, or at least I have in a really long time. And so I think those are the moments where it's like, oh, like when I'm in those moments, if I can look back and go, oh, I was there and then I got out of it, I will get out of this again too. And I think one of the biggest things I did is just leaned into it. I didn't try to fix it. I didn't try to change it. I didn't try to pretend like it wasn't happening. I think a lot of times with ministers, we can think that we're supposed to, like, I can't have a crisis of faith. I'm not allowed to. So I have to pretend like it's not happening. And I was so broken that I was like, yeah, no, I'm a mess. And I'm just going to experience that.
I think that's the most important thing, even as I'm asking the question, is to really kind of not move away from it, like not shy away from the fact that you're having this. Like, I think the importance is to be questioning at all times what it is that you believe in what you're doing in order to continue to grow and not to try to listen, no one wants to be uncomfortable. And when you're going through a crisis of faith, I think you're really at your most uncomfortable because you're basically questioning the root, the core of who you are and what you believe. And when you're in that state, it's like, it's beyond, uncomfortable is a nice way to put it, And I think, as you said, Tiffany, leaning into it to really kind of not try to go around it or pretend it's not there and to really go, what is this that's showing up for me and why is it showing up for me? And I don't know that I think you have to find your process out, but I do agree that reminding yourself because we don't get to be the age that we are right now without having some kind of crisis of consciousness or whatever beforehand. And when we realize that we got through it, I think that is the beauty of it.
Just to clarify, some of us are a lot younger than the rest of us.
Some of us don't know what a typewriter is. Is that correct, Tiffany?
I have no idea. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah. Well, and change is painful. Like change is, we want to stick to our comfort zone because it's where we feel safe and cozy and comfortable, but we're supposed to be evolving. We're supposed to be changing. We're supposed to be growing. And I think of like when you're a kid and you have growing pains, right? And like your knees ache and whatever, but like on the other side of that is a growth spurt, and it changes, and then you get comfortable in the new body that you're in. And so if I can look at it as that, like, oh, I'm growing. What are the lessons that I need to learn from this? What's here for me to learn? And what can I glean from this versus thinking, because sometimes I think like the universe is trying to get me, right? Or the pixie dust has run out. And it's like, no, pixie dust is still there. This is just, there's another iteration of Liza on the other side of whatever you're experiencing right now. So what do I need to learn right now in this moment so that I can flourish into that next gorgeous iteration that wants to be
Yeah.
birthed?
So I have a question because there's two sort of competing ideas on this topic that are swirling around. And one is this idea that to give yourself grace, to understand you're in a season, to understand, yes, I don't want to stick my head in the sand. I want to feel what this is and try and process it. There's that. And then there can be another sort of competing or potentially competing idea, which is, well, you could just decide to feel better. You could just decide. You're the one that's deciding to feel sorry for yourself or to feel upset. And I'm not saying I believe that, but I
would actually punch somebody in the face if they came to me with that.
You should just decide to feel better, Liza.
No.
Just decide. No, I know what you're saying. You're not saying that. But it's
no. But there are people we know who, not saying exactly that, but that will say everything is a decision. And so how do you know? And then I'll throw out one, just a book that I absolutely love called Life is in the Transitions, by Bruce Feiler. And one of the things that he talks about, he interviewed like 200 people and talked with them about big transition moments in their lives. And what he found was people have way more transition moments, and he calls them life quakes, where like something, like it would be like a death, a divorce, losing a job or something like that. He goes, people have way more of these in their lives than we think. And to our discussion, he said they last longer than you think. Then they're not like you can just get over them, like snap out of it. He's like, sometimes they take a while, and you just have to give yourself that space to know it takes a while.
Well, and along the lines of what you're saying, first of all, I shouldn't promote violence. I wouldn't punch anybody in the face, maybe in the knee. Maybe I kick them in the knee. But, when you're in that moment saying, well, what do you want to decide? Like, you can choose to decide. Like, it's so hard to say you can do this because the implication is that you're creating this, and we kind of know that you do. But when you're in the moment and you're telling someone that, well, you can turn it around and you can create something else. I think probably the better way to phrase that is, what is it that you would like to feel in this moment? And that sort of lets the pressure out of saying, well, you can turn this around if you choose something different. It's like, well, what is it that you'd actually like to be feeling instead of what you are feeling? Because I think that then turns it around. It reminds me a lot of, Abraham Hicks or Esther Hicks always says, like you mentioned, Tiffany, like reach for the better feeling. So if you're depressed, maybe reach for frustration or reach for anger. And then from there, I mean, that's still not where your goal is, but it's better than depressed. And then from anger, confusion, still not where you want to be, but it's at least better. I mean, like we talked about a couple of episodes ago, inductive and deductive reasoning, sometimes you just know, and sometimes you have to, make the inquiry towards what it is that you want to know.
Mhm.
And I think when you ask the question, what is it that you would like to feel? It sort of lets the pressure off of what it is. I know that works for me anyway. I'll say that. It works for
Yeah.
me to go, okay, right. What is it that I actually want to feel? Because I am so completely, you know, en- engulfed. I'm so consumed with this crisis of faith or this situation or whatever. I'm so consumed in it that I can't see, the window to crack open. But if I stop for a second and ask the question, what is it that I'd like to feel? It stops me in my tracks and brings me right to the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's also like I think it's one of the like most misused thing of our teaching is that I can just bypass it, right? I can just decide to feel something else. Like I can just decide to experience something else. And not that I don't believe that that's true if I'm in a place to make that decision but or maybe I don't believe that's true. I think that if I believe that my life is unfolding perfectly, then it means that everything that I'm experiencing is unfolding perfectly. And I get to decide what consciousness I want to approach that from. So yes, I can be feeling depressed, I can be feeling sad, but I can simultaneously know a higher truth as well. And I can also make choices. The decision really comes, do I pick up the phone and call Dr. Thor or Dr. Liza because I'm feeling really depressed and feeling miserable because I know that that will help me get to the next elevated state? Or am I deciding to sit and wallow in it? It's not, I just decide, nope, it's over, because that's really bypassing it and that's not really dealing with it. And I believe that's what turns into ailments and illness in my body is by my mind deciding it's over something while my cells and my body are actually storing the emotions. So if I can go, this sucks. This hurts. Or whatever I'm experiencing, but I decide to pick up the phone. I decide to go to the center. I decide to read a book. Those are the decisions that lead to the elevated thinking that ultimately help me navigate and to see a bigger picture or zoom out to a 30,000-foot view versus being stuck in whatever crisis I'm in the middle of.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's interesting when bringing up the phrase, my life is unfolding perfectly, no matter what. It, if you say that and you're in the middle of something like really sucky, then it maybe what it does is it prompts you to go, okay, well, if that's so, and I really at least want to believe that it's true, that my life is unfolding perfectly, then it means I have to be able to find something in this situation that I can work with. There must be some kind of raw material here. And to your point, Tiffany, of like, okay, what can I choose? Can I choose a call? Can I choose a book? Can I choose, go listen to something that inspires me as a way to move myself through this? Maybe that's what it is just in that moment when you say my life is unfolding perfectly. Okay, so prove it. Do something that proves it.
Well, and
Right.
sometimes a good cry is the something. Sometimes I
Mm,
need to just cry and throw a fit and throw it. But I don't have any judgment about any of it. I think that's different rather than judging like sometimes I need a good cry. So a crisis of faith is not a bad thing if the other side of it leads to a more grounded truth and a more grounded understanding. And nobody says, I want to experience the bad, but the truth, like, I think about when my dad died. I'd never experienced grief like that before. It was the most painful thing ever. And my skin was on fire and it was falling off. It was Dr. Liza that said to me, because I was in ministerial school at the time, and I was like, I got to get out of here. Like, I don't know if I believe any of this. And she said, don't let go of the only string that may be keeping you tethered to knowing who you are. Like, it was like there was this invisible string tethering me to my faith, even though it was so painful. And on the other side of, and grief is forever. Grief isn't something like, oh, it's 7 years, so now I'm fine and I never shed a tear again. But taking a step back from that time where it was so raw, I recognized there's so much beauty in that experience, and who I became on the others. I was completely changed and transformed, and my edges were softened. I'm not saying I want to experience grief to be able to get, but I am a better person today because I experienced that. And so how can I say that that is a bad piece, bad piece of my
Right.
life, and this is a good piece? Like it's the tapestry. It's all of it.
Yeah, so true. I mean, Dr. Thor and I were talking about this, just the thought of, would you ever tell anyone to stop being happy? And I'm not saying that you have to sit in your grief, but, we're so conditioned to go, oh, no, 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 don't feel sad. Don't feel sad. Oh my God, don't feel sad. Like, I feel uncomfortable because you're feeling sad. So let's not feel sad,
Don't
Yeah.
make me
You
uncomfortable.
would
So can you just get happy because it'll be more convenient for me? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if I'm not going to sit here and go, oh my God, you're so filled with joy right now, and I just need you to stop, you'd never do that to somebody. Like,
I mean,
let
there
the
are some
experience
people
be
that
shared.
you'd like to slap the happy. Again, physical violence, but you're like, really? Like, you're always that happy? Like, it can be annoying. I'm not going to lie.
I don't.
I feel like this show's going to have like an explicit warning on it, like may induce violence.
100%. Don't let the children watch.
It's
No.
true. What does Liza say? This is not your grandmother's ministry.
This is not your grandma's ministry.
I feel like I should ask this question. Do either of you have any family background of anyone that even came close to being officially in ministry or anything like that?
Not that I'm aware of in my family.
So you're the first minister?
The first minister that I'm aware of, yeah.
I mean, I'm Jewish, and so, I mean, it's sacrilege to have become a minister.
Yeah, what are you doing? You at least should leave this work to the men.
I mean, it's kind of crazy. So no rabbis either.
Okay, yeah, me either. I mean, my upbringing was, we would go to like a Lutheran church if we happened to be somewhere, if we lived on a military base somewhere, we would just go to the chapel. So that was it for me.
On
the last thing-
holidays.
And holiday, yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you got to go for the high holidays. So which is always so funny to me. Like we would be Jewish like twice a year.
Of course you
Yeah.
are. The important 2 days of the year for the Jews. Yeah, you have to. I think I was Jewish during that time too.
That's right.
I actually still do go to midnight mass. There's something about the pageantry of it and
Mhm.
everything that they do and the kids, and I don't know. I love it. It's almost like, yeah, there's something about it that I really do enjoy and love. So I do go to midnight mass on my own. Sometimes I go with my family if they, even if it's, I might go to a service, to a mass, if they ask me to go. Because I do. I mean, there's always something to glean. By the way, I'd go to anything, anywhere, all the time. Like, I've been to a mosque because I got invited to when I was in Morocco, in Thailand. I was at a Buddhist temple. I mean, I love it. I'm so fascinated and obsessed with what it is that calls people to spirituality or religion,
Same.
I mean,
I'll
I
go
think,
anywhere.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's true. That I think back to the two places that were sort of most awe-inspiring to me, both from the Christian world, were St. Peter's in Rome and Notre Dame in Paris, which I saw last year. And they had finished much of the restoration work after the fire there, however many, 5 years ago. And it is stunning on the inside. But going in those places, I'm certainly not a Catholic, but going in there, you're just like, there's an energy about the awe-inspiringness of it, where I could see how compelling it would be for people just to come away from this with this feeling of reverence.
Well, I think it's also back to faith. Like, the people that were there on any of these had so much faith, and they had a passion for what it is that they were building and constructing and, being a part of. So it wasn't just like they were building a building. It was like the reverence they had for the job that they were doing. I'm sure is felt throughout the walls of these places,
Mm-hmm.
It feels to me like a soul's remembrance. It's the same feeling I have sometimes when I like see pictures of Earth from a space shuttle, or when you look up at a, starlit sky, or you go into a cathedral or a church. It speaks to a place in me that transcends, the thinking mind, that transcends all of like the relative everything going on in your life. It's like your soul recognizes that as truth and beauty. And you can get that in a mosque, you can get that in a temple, you can get it, probably at a Burger King. I don't know, but I want more of that, because that's what counteracts the times when I can get really jaded.
Yeah.
Or get really caught up in what's happening in the world.
What did Mr. Rogers say? In times of trouble, look for the helpers.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's like what you're saying, Tiffany, is look for the good. Like it's there. I mean, when we were at Notre Dame last year, they had, because it was still under construction, they had like these murals out front that showed the progress they had made over the last couple of years. And what was fascinating was how many regions of the entire country of France were engaged in producing the material to fix Notre Dame. Like they would be like, here's this forest where they cut down these trees, and here are these carpenters who created the beams. And like it was a whole country's effort. And like they were just in love with the idea of recreating this thing that meant so much to their nation. And people were just giving themselves. And it's such a beautiful thing to see. And like to me, that's the best of who we could be when we remember that sort of thing.
Well, yeah, it's what do I want to be looking at, and who do I want to be? Like I always talk about after 9/11, like 9/11 was this travesty. It was horrific. It was awful. But immediately afterwards, like people ran, like we were one country for 5 minutes, and there was so much love that the blood banks were full they were turning people away, and all of these people ran to be the solution. And so what do I want to, like, that's who I want to be. That's what I don't want. I'd love to get to a place where we don't need the tragedy to bring out the best in us. My greatest hope is that we can recognize that we are that, and we can be that without needing something that we're doing it in response to. But for now, until we recognize that as who we are, I'm all in for, okay, this thing happened. Where's the love? Where are the people coming together? I want to be with them. That's who I want to be.
Yeah. I love that. I love this conversation, and I know that whatever we talk about next week on All Revved Up, I'm going to love that too. So thank you to both of you today.
Yay. Thank you. Yay. This was fun. It's always fun.
All right. Yep. I love you guys. We'll talk next week.
Sounds good.
Bye.
Wow.
If you enjoyed our conversation, we'd love to have you back. Be sure to subscribe wherever you enjoy podcasts or on YouTube so you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time on All Revved Up.